I'm going to talk a little bit about expectations today because that's very important in business also as in any other area of life. So what does it really take to get good results with organic marketing and appointment setting? Because we're doing appointment setting for ourselves, right? So first of all, it takes a good offer. So you need to have a good offer with a money back guarantee because that's going to attract people to you. And also with the money back guarantee, because we're talking to people mostly that don't know us, so it's gonna take away that risk or that fear of first of all having a call with you, but second of all also investing with you because they know they can always get the money back. But then it also takes reasonable expectations. That's what I'm gonna get into later. And then, of course, the willingness to invest both time and money. So we have to invest time mostly when we're doing organic marketing, and later on we have to be able to or be willing to invest money if we want to scale our business with, for instance, paid ads, and maybe also getting some support like a coach or so. And then it takes patience because things take time. It takes a lot longer than we normally believe it will. It takes a long time with the organic marketing. It's building a brand. And then it takes resilience. So we have to keep doing things to get results. Actually, I just learned the formula for success is it's skills plus luck. So it actually takes some luck also. They found out that was some statisticians that found that out that it takes skills and luck, and both of those things they require time because we build skills with time, and the longer we do something, the higher is the probability of also getting lucky. So sadly enough, they say it also requires some luck, but also skill. So both of those things, if we just keep working on it, we improve our skills, but also we improve the possibility or the probability of getting a lucky break also. And then, of course, it also requires hard work and testing. So we have to do a lot of hard work. It is hard work to build a business and testing different things. Without testing, I wouldn't say don't jump around too much. Be careful not to get the shiny object syndrome where you're jumping from maybe one business to another or one niche to another. That's also not good because then again, then we're not investing enough time into one thing. Focus again. Focus is another thing that is important. And then, of course, it requires sales skills. That is something that everybody can learn. So, what is the mindset and psychology behind expectations in business? Um, First, so what we're going to go through is understanding the role of expectation that shapes business success and identify common cognitive biases that affect expectations and learn strategies for setting realistic and empowering expectations and develop emotional resilience to handle unmet expectations and use expectation management to improve client relationships and cultivate a growth mindset for long-term business sustainability. So that's what we're going to touch on now. So the role of expectations in business, why do they matter? Expectations shape our motivation and our effort and overall business experience. So if we expect good results, then we're going to be more motivated to do things. But if we have too high expectations, then we might lose motivation because we're not seeing the results that we thought we were going to get. So there are different types of expectations. There's self-expectations, goals, so success benchmarks, and personal standards. So we have goals, but also some benchmarks. So we can have a long-term goal, but also some short-term goals, because if our goal is $1 million per month and then we don't achieve it in a couple of months or maybe a couple of years, then we may lose motivation. So it's good to have short-term goals also, maybe first getting to 10K per month, or first of all, getting just the work done, having the goal of doing outreach, 10 outreach every day. Set the expectations low so that you can have the feeling of success. And then we also need to set client expectations, because when we get clients, it's also important that they have the right expectations. Otherwise, they may have the wrong expectations and then be disappointed. And then there's the market expectations, industry trends, competition, and economic factors. So what does the market expect? What do your competitors do? Not that we have to do the same thing, but people have get expectations from what they see other people do in the market. So your competitors. Then the expectation performance connection, there's positive expectations that drives motivation and confidence and persistence. When we have positive expectations, we're more motivated to do the job, we're more confident, and we're more persistent. But then there's also unrealistic expectations, and that leads to disappointment, frustration, and burnout. So again, that is if you have the unrealistic expectation of getting to $1 million per month in a couple of months, that can easily lead to disappointment, frustration, and burnout if you don't achieve it. So that's why it's important to also have realistic expectations. Then there's some cognitive biases that influence expectations. Confirmation bias. So we seek information that supports our existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory data. So if we believe that sales calls is difficult, then we are going to only see things that support that belief. So it's important to be aware of your biases, of your mindset, because that's going to influence what you actually see. Because if you think that the sales calls is easy, then that's also what you're going to experience. So the first step to overcome that is to be aware of it. Then there's optimism bias, overestimating positive outcomes while underestimating challenges. So that is a little bit with like having unrealistic expectations, being overly optimistic. Optimism is good, but not too much. Also be realistic. Then there's the hindsight bias, believing that past successes or failures were more predictable than they actually were. So it's easy to be to think back and be wise and think I knew that was going to happen. Like I don't know that if you tried a business and it didn't work out, if it failed, you can easily look back and think, yes, I knew that wasn't going to work. Yeah. So it's easy to be, what's it called, be smart when you're looking in the back view mirror, but it's not gonna predict the future though. Then there's expectation biases. So that is allowing expectations to influence actual outcomes. This is like self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you, again, like if you think that sales calls is difficult, then it's probably going to be difficult because you're gonna be anxious to do it, and therefore it's not going to go as well as if you were relaxed, and that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Some actionable steps that you can do is regularly challenge and reassess your expectations. So be aware of them, write them down, and seek diverse perspectives to counter biases. So you can ask your peers, or here in the group, you can ask what are the expectations that I can have, or what do you think about these expectations? Are they realistic? But don't ask people who don't really have any kind of background in business. Don't ask people that don't know about the thing that you're doing, because they don't have the knowledge to give you good advice, and you make it bad advice, and then set your expectations wrong. And then the most important thing is use data-driven decision making. So that's why it's important that we use data, that we write things down, because we can't rely on our own memory and our own feeling. Oh, I felt that I did well this month, or that I did a lot of outreach, but I didn't get any results. But yeah, our brain tricks us a lot, so we have to write things down to actually know for sure what we have been doing. Um, Also, you can also have actually good results and then think back, oh, this month was not good. It sucked. But actually, you had some wins. But we also have a tendency of always mostly emphasizing the negative things. So therefore, it's also important to keep track so that we also track the good things that can actually motivate us to keep moving forward, right? Setting realistic and empowering expectations is about balancing ambition and realism. So aim high, but break your goals into achievable milestones. So it's good to have a long-term goal, like a big goal, that's gonna keep you moving forward, but break it down so that you have short-term goals as well, so that you have something to work towards. Because if you want to earn $1 million per month, again, it doesn't have to be monetary, it can be anything, having 100 clients per month or whatever, then that can seem kind of a little bit unachievable, but also you can easily push it in front of you if you don't set a time frame. And it's kind of wishy-washy. You don't know, you don't have really anything to measure if you're doing good or not. So have short-term goals, like a yearly goal, a monthly goal, a weekly goal, and even a daily goal. So a daily goal can be just doing one outreach per day, or 10, or whatever you can manage. And then differentiate between long-term vision and short-term progress. So that's a little bit the same, having a long-term vision and work towards a short-term progress. Because if you achieve the short-term progress, then you know you're going to get to your goal, because you have broken it down. You have your long-term vision, and then you break it down into years, into months, into weeks, and into daily actions. So it's action that gives results. So if you want to earn, let's say, $1 million per month in 10 years, then you can break down, okay, how much should I be earning in 5 years? And how much should I be earning in 3 years, and in 2 years, and 1 year? And then how much should I be earning per month? And be real aware that in the beginning, everything goes slower, and then it can progress faster later on. But again, it doesn't have to be monetary, it's just an example. Um, So you break it all the way down to weekly goals, like I have to do 100 outreach per month or per week, and trying to have 10 calls per month. So how many outreach do I need to do to get 10 calls per month? I broke that down in another video. That said that I forgot what it was, but you have to do something like 200 outreach. I forgot, but you can break it down because there's you when you write things down, you find out how many people are responding to your messages, how many percentage. So maybe if you do 100 outreach, 10 people will respond, and one person will actually book a call. So out of 100 outreach, you get one call booked. Um, and then maybe it takes 4 sales calls to get actually a sale. So then you have to do 400 outreach to get one sale. So that's how you can break it down. And then there's the SMART goals framework. So it's good to have a specific, the SMART goals framework stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So have a specific goal, clearly define what success looks like, and make it measurable. Use quantifiable metrics to track success or to track progress. That's why we have to write things down and make it achievable. Set goals within your skills and resource capabilities. So make it achievable so that you don't overwhelm yourself and then give up. And make it relevant. Align your expectations with your business objective. So if your objective is to earn $10,000 per month, then that's what you should align it with. But if it's not that goal that you have, it's more like helping 10 people a month, then you should align it with that. And time bound, establish a deadline to maintain accountability so that we don't keep pushing it in front of us. And the practical exercise could be to create a goal setting journal with realistic benchmarks. So again, write it down, make a journal, write down every day what you have done to achieve your goal. And make it also, make expectations of what you should do in advance. Write down what you should do tomorrow or every single day. So it's not just that you write it down after you've done it, but also plan ahead. So emotional resilience and handling unmet expectations. The impact of unmet expectations can lead to disappointment, stress, and loss of motivations. So again, don't have too high expectations because then it's probably not going to be possible to meet them. And it can also, if it's with your clients, it can damage the client relationships if not managed properly. So again, it's important to give your clients the right expectations of what you can help them with, so that they don't have unrealistic expectations. And the strategies to develop resilience. If you have setbacks, reframe them as learning experiences. I had a lot of setbacks. I did a lot of things that were wrong in my business, but it all led to me learning something. So I don't see it really as failures. I see it as a step on the way because you learn from everything. And separate your self-worth from your business outcome. So um, if you don't achieve success right away with business, that doesn't mean you're not a great person, that you're not great at business. So separate those two things. We can easily tie those things together. But again, it requires time. So it's also about being realistic with the time frame. And then you can practice mindfulness and stress management techniques. Meditation is really great because it really calms your mind and helps you make better decisions also. So what you can do is you can reflect on past disappointments and extract the key lessons. So what did you do that maybe didn't work out? But look at what did you learn from it so that you develop this growth mindset. Instead of seeing it as a disappointment, as a failure, what did you learn from it? It was a learning experience. And so managing client expectations creates a better relationship. The psychology of the client expectations is clients, they form expectations based on their past experiences and the market messages and their personal needs. So, of course, maybe they tried another coach or something and it didn't work out. And therefore, they are little bit hesitant maybe to sign up with you. That's why uh, you have to tell them that you are different. You do things in a different way, and that's why it's going to work out with you and them. But it also depends on the marketing message, the message that you're using when you are promoting your service. And then, of course, it depends on the client's personal needs. Do they need the help that you can provide them? So how to set clear expectations? Be transparent. Clearly define what is it that you can do for them, the timeline, and your process. That eliminates a lot of unmet expectations, just to be clear and open. And it's better, of course, to under-promise and over-deliver. So that is going to build a lot of trust. If you instead of over promising and under delivering, that's just gonna lead to client dissatisfaction, of course. But so it's better to under promise and over deliver. But at the same time, you also need to tell people what it is that you can do. So you do have to promise them a great outcome. Otherwise, they're just not going to sign up with you. So you have to find a middle ground of what can you definitely deliver to them, but without over-promising, and but still something that is intriguing enough for them to want to work with you. And then you may have to educate your clients, guide them through realistic outcomes and progress timelines. So that is very relevant to a lot of coaches because they have to educate their clients on maybe setting their expectations right. Or it can be how long things are going to take, or how much work they're going to have to do. That is very important. And handling difficult conversations. So address mismatched expectations with empathy. So never always be empathetic with your clients, of course. Understand that even if they are angry, it comes from a place of them maybe having a bad past experience or having unmet expectations. So always be empathetic. That's what you get the furthest with. And offer solutions rather than excuses. So instead of apologizing if something went wrong, then offer a solution instead, or at least say that you'll try to find a solution for it. Then most people will understand that. And then you can use that feedback that you get from your clients, whether it's good or bad, to improve your future expectation setting. So when you get new clients, you know how to set their expectations. So, and about cultivating a growth mindset, there's the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And the fixed mindset is the beliefs that abilities are statics and we are the way we are, and we can't develop too much. Especially some people think that when we get older, we can't learn new things, or it's difficult to learn new things. Like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's a that's a fixed mindset. Then there's the growth mindset. That is the belief that we can always learn and improve through time and effort, no matter how old we are, or we're being a woman or being a man, or no matter what, we can always learn. We can always learn something. Like, for instance, that can be, oh, I'm not good at sales. Well, that can be a fixed mindset, because you're telling yourself that you are not good at sales, but turning that into a growth mindset, you can tell yourself, I can learn sales. So that's gonna actually give you the motivation to start to learn it. Rather than if you just say to yourself, I can't do sales, then that's not going to motivate you to try to learn it. So how to shift to a growth mindset? Yeah, that's what I just said a little bit. Um, embrace challenges as opportunities. So any kind of challenge that you get is an opportunity to learn something. You may not be able to do it now, but it's an opportunity to learn something. And view efforts as a path to mastery rather than a sign of inadequacy. So if you fail at something, then that's a perfect opportunity for you to learn something, rather than saying, "Oh, I can't do this," and that's that. That's a fixed mindset. And reframe failures as feedback for improvement. So if something goes wrong, then you're not a failure. It's just that you need to learn this thing better. So a practical exercise that you can do is identify a business challenge that you have and apply a growth mindset to solve it. You can take each section and write down some key insights, and develop the personal strategies for managing these expectations, and set up accountability measures to track your progress and mindset. So track things, and also track your mindset. Write down what are your beliefs around these things, because it's important to be aware of it. That's the only way we can change it. And you can implement expectations management strategies like meditation, or also planning your day ahead. And then always reassess and adjust your expectations based on your feedback, based on how it's going, based on the feedback from what you have written down. And then, of course, you can seek support and mentorship from like-minded people, other people in the group, maybe, or other entrepreneurs, or me. Yeah. So that was a little bit about expectations.